welcome everyone. Here it is, the day we've all been waiting for. I'm hyped, hope you are as well. This is Heroes Hype Live, finals pre-show. I'm joined by the effervescent, ever-lovely Maybe Buzz. The good old-fashioned Argy. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but they don't quite make him like this guy anymore. And we have a special guest, another special guest. Our favorite donkey himself, Jin. How are you guys?
Greetings.
Greetings. What a classy guy. What a classy guy. I'm glad to have you guys here. This is Heroes Hype Live. We definitely encourage interactions from the audience. We're going to be talking about things leading up to the big dance tonight. Heroes Hype Temple Storm Series 3 comes its dramatic conclusion, but there's a lot to celebrate over here at Heroes Hype. We've had an amazing past couple of weeks, and this week has been hallmark. Actually, we've why don't you tell us what kind of things we've been up to this week, man?
I feel like it's Heroes Hype Christmas this week. I haven't been able to sleep. Like, I wake up really early in the morning, like excited about everything that's going to happen that day. We had our first EU tournament yesterday. Fnatic sponsored it. They gave us like tons of really great prizes, jerseys and keyboards and mouse pads and all this stuff. We had 35 teams, I think, sign up.
Wow.
So like a bunch of teams. It was super fun interacting with the European amateur scene and the players that are in that Open Cup and the casters over there. So that was really fun. And then today is the big dance. We've been waiting 5 weeks for all of this to finally conclude in an epic showdown of the best amateur teams. So I'm super excited for today.
I'm so excited. I just curled my invisible fake mustache.
Ooh.
This is a true story. This is a true story. They can't see it. They can't see it. But this is a thing that happened. And then tomorrow night we got the continuance of Heroes Hype Lat Am, right?
Yes.
We're going global, baby.
We're international here at Heroes Hype. Who needs sleep? All hour, 24 hours esports. That's what we believe in here.
Done ski. Yeah. Sold. But it's definitely our honor and privilege to have Jin here on the show. Jin, I've been a fan of yours pretty much since the first time I saw you play. Every now and again, I'll shoot you a message to say, hey, what's up and stuff. But I don't think we've ever really had a chance to just sit down and chat before, so this is cool.
Yeah, not yet.
Well, here we are now.
It's a great day.
It is a great day. Now, for those who don't know, Jin is the tank and frontliner for a team you guys are certainly familiar with. Donkeys Are Us. Jin, you want to give us a little bit of background about yourself as a player, what you've been doing in the hero scene, stuff like that?
Well, yeah, my friend Casanova brought me into this game, and I started off with Heroes Hypes. That was like the first tournament I played. It's probably the most frequent tournament I've played, along with Open. I started playing tank, and it wasn't really like my natural role that like comes to me. Really, it was more just like Casanova said, if you want to get into the scene, play tank. There's no tanks. So like, okay, sure. Normally I like dealing damage, but that's fine. And then things came to one another, and I tried out with Donkeys, who I love everyone on this team, and it's been a great adventure to share with all of them.
That's awesome, man, because it's cool to hear that Heroes Hype was like your first tournament. I remember after one night we watched, I was like, I might ask this guy to coach me out of tank. So it's interesting to hear like, oh, tanking isn't my natural thing, because you definitely have worked your way into the role quite well. And I think the experience of having a band of brothers effectively really accentuates the Heroes of the Storm experience. I've had a chance to see you guys interact, you and your fellow donkeys, and the camaraderie and brotherhood is definitely there. It's enviable in a lot of ways, because you guys are definitely just legitimate friends, and I think that's huge. Do do you think they? I guess I'm trying to think the best way to ask this. Has being on Donkeys R Us enriched your experience more than it would it like if you were never a part of that team?
Yeah, I have learned a lot of things on this team that I probably wouldn't have discovered myself. Like macro concepts were a big thing that our part-time analyst and my shot caller have explained to me. Like there's just things that I didn't really understand were a valuable factor to this game that have taught me mostly about like team fight dynamics, because my shot caller does everything for me. It just tells me where to go, so I don't think about the game. I'm just like brain dead. I just move my character. I've learned mostly about team fighting, but when it comes to like rotations and stuff, he just does all that. So I'm just chilling. But that is definitely where I've developed the most.
Is that ideal? Do you feel like you respond to that sort of like very like I think controlling is the wrong word, but like very like mindful of all the little pieces shot calling?
I don't think I've played on a team yet that I haven't been microed on. Because like first I played with Tiger and Mac, and they're like super veteran players, so it's like, yeah, hi, I've played this game for a few weeks, just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And then like I was never calling on any team. So some teams, like when I played with like Nightmare and Shot and stuff, I had a little more individual decision making. But I can't say I've really had independence long enough from that style that I would really know how I'd operate without it.
In my experience, Jen, I feel like there are two different categories of shot calling. There's what I would call the mastermind, which is what you seem to be more experienced with, where like there's one person that handles like a large part of the macro. After we do this, we're gonna do this. This is what we're gonna like, and they lay out the plan. And then there's more of what I call a conductor, where it's like there's one person that handles most of the shot calling, but there's input from across the team, and it's like, hey, we could do this, but before that's actually done, that main conductor person's like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. I think probably actually most amateur teams operate under that style where it's a little more collaborative. I know I think LFM did that. I know pretty sure EID before was operating under that. I think before Lutano joined. I think he does most of it for them last split, but I'm not really sure for HTC teams how they usually operate. I know, yeah, it is typically, as you said, where there's like one person who has most of the charge, but for my team, it's like we have a drafter and they'll be like doing 80%, I guess. And then the 20% is like asking the person who's going to be playing that position what they think is most optimal in that position. So it'd be like Braxis, and it'd be like, I'm picking your tank here. What do you want here? That's pretty much it. So it's very like on hands to one person, and then in game it's literally like, here's our lane setups, go to that lane, and then the tribute spawns. He's like, go here now. Like, okay, that's how we all.
So I got a question for you. It's again, I think it's super cool that you said HeroesHype is one of the first tournaments, if not the first tournament you were, a part of coming into the Heroes of the Storm scene. In your opinion, how has the overall level of competition evolved in your time being in HeroesHype tournaments, and how did that help you prepare for the Open Division?
Level of competition.
Like, has it gotten better? Like, have you seen more coordinated play?
Yeah. From my experience, when I first started playing in the scene, teams were kind of just throwing things together. I guess typically when there's less development, there's more like, let's try this out attitude. And I think as things progressed, it's more like we know who each other are generally, and we want to put concepts together that have already been written out. So like, I think they're called Five Musketeers now. Firm Handshake was like a bunch of players who I think I've generally seen before,
Mm-hmm.
and they had an idea of what they were going to do with each other. Like they understood like a little bit about each other as players, probably from Hero League, whereas when I just first started playing, it like seemed pretty scrambled. So I think that due to this, coordination comes by faster, and teams have executed concepts that I wouldn't really have imagined to them to execute like so shortly after forming. And because HeroesHype is generally, well, since it's played by amateur teams and the amateur teams are less stable than HGC teams, that means that that's really important because you have more teams that are sticking together to develop throughout the tournament process,
Mm-hmm.
which I think collectively makes the competition level higher. So that has definitely, like, I actually think that my placing in HeroesHypes is overall much lower than my placing in Open. I think the amount of times that I've dropped out like second or third round in HeroesHype is quite frequent. It's like the teams aren't, you know, on a relatively lower scale than like what I usually play around, I think, with like numerics and you know, like operative and whatnot in Open, because they play in that. But
I think
yeah.
there's some room for more experimentation overall in HeroesHype. I think Artie might be able to speak to this, if not as well as probably even better than me, that the overall level of play has definitely increased in our time this year in particular for HeroesHype. But we do see some surprising compositions that shock more stable playing teams. Like Oh My Science, I'm pretty sure they're in the top 8. They definitely like to run some wild stuff. They made Range Assassin Lucio a thing. You remember that, Arky?
I do, yeah.
I was cracking up that game.
Oh god.
And you definitely, Jen, you guys remember them. I remember you got to play them again, and it was like, all right, yeah.
Watch out for that.
There's some revenge there, I'd say.
I guess the biggest difference in HeroesHype and Open is the format between best of 1 and best of 3. When it's a best of 1, it's much easier to run it's more like reasonable to run wild compositions because it's like it's one game and there's no adaptability in the best of 1.
Yeah.
So a lot of like quote cheese or like experimental drafts would be run because teams don't have time to really adapt to that throughout a series, and that would cause a lot more upsets. At the same time, it's also because that is promoted, more things are run and tested that you wouldn't see in competition otherwise. Like you're probably not going to see teams run like super crazy compositions in Open because like, you know, it's not as like feasible to run like a ton of prepared cheese strats throughout the best of series.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's best of 3. It's like, all right, you got us with it at one time, but that's not gonna go down again. You mentioned 5 Musketeers. We actually have a clip. We got a chance to interview some of the teams. So I wanted to run a clip that we had of Necromongers of 5 Musketeers. It's just that I'm good at running production. I'm good at this, and I know. So let me.
I believe in you.
Let me set this up. Now,
I guess like a
you've
quick
done a
question, but
consistent
as
amount of
Lauren's setting that up, Jen, do you think that the gap between HGC teams and Open teams has closed?
top like 4 amateur teams are pretty far away from like the
Now,
next 4 amateur teams, and then I think that the top 4 amateur teams with the bottom 4 HCC teams are probably a lot closer than people would think in terms of individual skill. I think that the practice that HCC teams get is a lot more productive in amateur, obviously,
Mhm.
because in amateur, concepts aren't really being like punished as much as HCC teams would do, and there's also just less overall like higher level of competition to shed light on what you can improve on.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
that's just like a concept that you can't really do much about. But I do think that if those players in amateur were given shots on the HGC teams, or if they were given similar levels of competition and practice, that you would not even really tell much of a difference between the players. Like I think that there's a lot of amateur players who could certainly do what a lot of HGC players are doing.
interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree.
Well, I look forward to HeroesHype continuing to serve as that infrastructure to allow that sort of transition to happen. I finally did get the clip together, so let me play this because I'm good at this and I know what I'm doing.
We believe.
Now you've done a consistent amount of scrimming. You faced a range of teams over the 5 weeks of HeroesHype Tempo Storm Series 3, and you mentioned that one of the things you want to try to do as a team is innovate. Would you say that there's a sense of stagnation in the current meta in the amateur scene, and you find yourself to be more of an outlier, like looking to shake things up a bit, or have you found other teams try to find their own identity as well?
I feel like there's a very defined meta right now, and a lot of the teams are playing it, but it's for a reason, because it works. And so we're trying to, fit into the current meta, but also figuring out ways to beat it. Because if that's what everyone's drafting, we want to be able to outperform the current meta. And so it's always, in scrims, it's just current trial and error in drafts. We lose, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we're constantly learning from our mistakes.
No, that's a really cool perspective. As a senior member of this core roster, I think there's a lot of leadership that falls on your shoulders to maintain a sense of consistency. You go through one of these scrims, you have one of these trial and error instances, and you try a different style of composition, and it doesn't work out very well at all. I've seen teams really struggle with lulls and low periods over scrims and things like that. How have you guys as a team pulled back together after any of those setbacks and scrims and maintained your focus on a long-term goal?
I think the biggest thing that helps with us is, at the end of the day, we're actually all just really close friends. And so we remind ourselves, because it can be tilting, right? As you said, trying out and it's not working. And maybe we feel like we're playing against a team that we should win. But, when we hop on the next day, ready for the scrims, we're just a bunch of friends that, hey, it's okay. Whatever happened yesterday is yesterday. Let's focus on today. Let's focus on the goal we set that we want to, try to achieve for this set of scrims.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what helps the most, is being friendly with each other.
Okay. I thought that was a really cool moment of the conversation. It speaks to the second half of it speaks to a lot of what you were saying, Jen, about how important it is to have friends before teammates, as far as weathering storms. One of the things what I had asked him, Jen, was, you guys have a rough scrim set. How do you bounce back from that? Like, what do you say to your team? So I guess I would ask you a similar question. If you guys go through a rough patch, how do you guys pick yourselves back up and bounce back as far as like morale goes?
I think that a very influential factor in that is respect. I think that when you respect your teammates, either as players or as people, honestly, then you're willing to work with them through rough patches. I think that friendship is a big factor in synergy and a big factor in like getting the energy to move things forward. Like if you don't really enjoy the company that you're with, that energy probably won't exist. So I think that for you to recover from like failure, if there's no respect within the team, it's probably not going to happen. But I think that along with that and being close to your teammates, if you can have both of those factors, then your scrim environment and your practice productivity is going to be very high. I think that those two need to go hand in hand to a degree because they're a little different, but well, they're pretty different, but they're both very important.
No, that makes a ton of sense. The word respect isn't necessarily a concept I feel gets thrown around too much in the competitive scene as far as looking at teammates, especially in A. There's historically been this I guess I would say stigma where, you know, roster apocalypse happens and players always feel like they could do better on different teams. Whereas if there's more respect for the teammates, the rough patches can be more smoothed out. And then we start to see teams like Flix Ducky pointed out, Fnatic, L5 that develop these personal bonds and those friendships weather the storm more than anything else. So I definitely agree with that. Very insightful.
To touch on what you said, I do think I just wanted to throw out a note that a big thing that the amateur scene does do is a grass is greener point of view, where I think that something that is very often missed is that not everything will be fixed if you just have better players, but if your players understand concepts that can make you better players. If you can provide knowledge with your team to help them grow, I think that you can take players you might not have imagined could make it into the professional scene and lead them there. So I think that a big thing that amateur players should focus on is not how much they can rely on their teammates or how much they respect them, but how much they can give their 100% into bringing their teammates to their fullest potential. Because you have to, play the hand that you're given.
Be a good teammate, basically.
Alarm in the chat's cracking me up. He said, "You got to calm down, man. Everybody in Discord saying grass is greener now. See what you did."
He's totally right, though. Like that's very prevalent in the amateur scene for HOTS. That like it could be better here. Like look at these people, and I think a lot of times, like in HOTS, from what I've noticed, is like new teams will sort of like come together and do like really, really well for 2 weeks, and be like really dominant and like crush everyone in scrims, and then like 2 weeks later that's not the case anymore. Like they're struggling against teams that they shouldn't be struggling against. They're getting knocked out early. And I think that that's a good point, is that teammate mentality is like when everybody's feeling good and things are going great, everyone's on the top of their game. But if you can't succeed when you hit that first little rocky point, it's hard to make it through.
I like to call those teams honeymooners.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
There's a really important saying that I cannot all put back together, but whatever you take from the concept of it is that it's not about something like it's not about how well you succeed, but how well you bounce back from failure. So if you are a team that can repeatedly take productivity from failure and move forward, you're going to become a better team than a bunch of good players who can't work together for shit.
Jen, I didn't know we were bringing Nostradamus on the show. Jen's proverbs are OP. Who knew? I mean, I 100% agree with that. Bouncing back from failure is, in a lot of ways, more important than just enjoying success. I feel, in general, you learn more from setbacks. So I definitely agree with that. And in a lot of ways, Jen, you're the poster child for consistency. Season 1 and 2 winner, a HeroesHype Tempo Storm series. I remember y'all trolling me at 101st Northumberland Fusiliers. I still can say that smoothly because of y'all. Hox is thinking Confucius. Jen, are you the Confucius of Hots? Can you confirm or deny?
Hey man, I just say what's on my mind, dude.
Confirm.
I don't have a brain. Ask Alheim.
Confirm.
I just say what comes to me.
Got old Confucius out here. Okay. We do have another clip I wanted to show from Kwanzar of Team Numeric. So I'm gonna pull that up now because I'm good at this, and I just so happen to know exactly what I'm doing. So let me pull that up. Meow. And here we go. HCC Open Division is obviously important for the amateur scene. It's the on-ramp towards professional play. The Crucible, which is coming up this weekend, is going to be a spectacle for everyone from top to bottom. But I also feel like things like HeroesHype Tempo Storm Series are very important and integral to the development of an amateur team. Though people may not know that imported support, they definitely have played their fair share of HeroesHype Tempo Storm Series. We've been lucky enough to have Team Numeric show up as well and prove their stuff, so to speak. Would you agree that efforts like HeroesHype and the partnership with Tempo Storm has been helpful for the amateur scene to develop its level of play, to have that exhibition level? You know, we can scrim and try these different things out, but this is an actual competitive venue. Has that helped you guys in particular grow?
I don't think it can be stated enough sort of how important tournaments like HeroesHype are for the scene, because it's a realistic, achievable goal that gives you more opportunity to play in a tournament setting. Like, scrims are fantastic, team league, whatever, all that is good and all that is necessary. But until you feel the pressure of, if I lose this game, I'm out of a tournament, like, you just don't know how you're going to perform. And having the opportunity to play in more of those, it can't be sort of described how important that is. So tournaments like HeroesHype, I think, are one of the driving forces, if not the driving force, as to why the amateur scene is getting better. Because you have this sort of, you know, it's one thing to say, like, HEC is fantastic, but it's really hard to go, like, here's HEC, now qualify for it. You know, like, you need those sort of tournaments like HeroesHype to go, here's a tournament that the stakes are still high enough to where you will get good practice. You will get teams who are giving you their all, but it's not the sort of insurmountable, daunting task of, okay, play with professional gamers now. You know, you have the people who are all working towards that goal, so you're sort of in that same pool, but you don't have this sort of impossibility, you know? And I think the achievableness of a goal directly correlates to how much you're willing to work towards it. So if I tell you you have to beat Michael Phelps in a race, you know, in a swimming competition, you won't. And I say, if you do, I'll give you $1,000. You won't do it because you never will. But if I say, if you beat the best person in your city in a race in swimming, you know, you might do that, and then that will lead you going, oh, I'm actually, like, kind of getting good at this. Like, maybe I should pursue even more. So I think those stepping stones, those sort of almost checkpoints, are what make people drawn to the scene. They draw more and more competition, and that's better for everyone. The more people you have competing, the more talent you have out there, only elevates everyone else. So something like Heroes Hearth, with Heroes Hearth Tempo Storm series is I don't think it can be stated enough how much we appreciate the tournament as competitors and how much we appreciate it as just people who enjoy the North American amateur scene and who want to see it grow.
I really appreciate that, man. I think that's going to put a huge smile on the face on all the people that work behind the scenes at HeroesHype Tempo Storm series, because this is very much an effort and project of passion. I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure that a lot of folks on the staff would agree that we do love the North American amateur scene. We want to see it grow. And if we can help a promising team, individual like yourself, a team like Team Numerics, sharpen their skills and prepare for that professional stage, that world level stage, I feel like we've done our job. So I'm really glad you feel that. That was a really cool interview. Flix Ducky said, "Yeah, great interview. Felt like even in Crucible, the nerves were evident from both imported and Heroes Hearth esports. Even with 6 months of Open Cups, HeroesHype Tempo Storm Series offers that environment to further improve this aspect."
Like, I'm biased, right? Obviously, but I don't know. It feels really great knowing that we make a difference, and that like it's important for us, like we say it all the time, that like providing like a safe and stable space through HeroesHype is what we do, right? We want to make it where anyone feels like they can come in and play in these tournaments, and you won't always win, you won't always lose, but you get something for showing up. You become part of this like competitive community and environment. If you've never done anything before in esports, it is like you can just like open the door and take a peek and step in and just like test the waters a little bit. So it makes me feel really happy, like, to hear that. And like even Jin, when you did your tweet longer the other day, you mentioned HeroesHype.
Brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah, it's like it feels like knowing that like it helps you guys, like that's what it's all about. Like knowing that it's a resource that you guys utilize and that you like and you want and you feel like you need, that's really important to us. So like thank you for all of that. It makes me really happy.
Yeah, I absolutely think that HeroesHype is the bridge from like a person that wants to become a competitive player and a competitive player. I think when I came to this game, I asked Casanova, like, "Hi, I played Hero League. I got good rank. I want to play tournament." And he was like, here's HeroesHype. So I play a bunch of HeroesHypes, and then I learned and I grew, and then I can play opens. Like it's pretty much just like a theoretical bridge between, and I think that's very important, like Kwanzar said.
Now, Argy, I want to ask you this, because Argy was here for this interview as well, and he's obviously here to hear your comments about HeroesHype. Jin, as someone who, now, if you guys don't know, during HeroesHype, Argy runs the production with Ball and Beast nowadays, changing the scenes over, doing the obsing during the games. Like Kyle and I, we actually just get to sit there and chill and talk about the video game. How rewarding was it to hear this kind of feedback from the players that go into something you put so much of your time and energy into?
Honestly, it felt really good. And I'm not the most emotional person, so you might not get the reaction you want. But
cry, Argy, cry now.
I'm not gonna cry on stream. No, that's off stream.
In bed.
I just really was happy because, like, as you said, we put a lot of time into this. Every week we're constantly working to try and improve our tournament for the experience of both the player and the viewer, and that's what's most important for me. And even just watching from the start, when we started this back in May to now, the improvement on the players and just everyone has just been incredible. And I'm happy that people are enjoying what we're doing, because that's the whole point.
Good, man. I hope that was rewarding because you definitely deserve everybody that works behind the scenes at Heroes. I was so glad to hear that because I was like, man, you guys are doing it. You guys are doing things.
It's a big staff. Like I unless you like are in, you don't really in like the staff you don't really realize. We have like almost 40 staff members, right? We have writers, graphic artists, video editors, YouTube managers, a stream team. Like, you know, we're trying to bring people who love HOTS together and grow the community, and that's really important. So,
I think we had like 10 people at the start of the year.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. It's a thing, man. We're going international now. It's just really cool. It's just really cool. We do have one more clip that I wanted to show you guys, which I will switch over because I'm just good at this. I know exactly what I'm doing. It's from Kevin of the Animals. Fun interview. Let me put the clip up. Like you said, you guys are 2000, or you and Toby in particular, 2017 Heroes of the Dorm winners. Didn't drop a game that entire tournament. And you transitioned into the competitive scene. You were a strong contender in phase 1 of the Open Division with the UTA roster. And you made some waves in phase 2. Like you said, you were able to put together a roster in time. How has the overall amateur scene, in your opinion, developed over the course of, like, you know, HeroesHype Tempo Storm series inception, the first phase of HGC Open Division to now? Like, how do you think that's changed?
I'm going to say this in comparison to what we played against in phase 1 or the first Open Division season.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people like grew as players. I'm trying to think of like a good way to say this, but I think the overall level of Open Division, even though there hasn't been a drastic increase of skill level, I think in total there was like a noticeable difference in skill. Like the player pool got a lot higher, like the skill player pool got a lot higher. The meta changed where it's like you actually have to be smart to play the game now. It's like you can't ram your faces in, you know? So I just think the overall like amateur scene is continually evolving, and like I think that's a good thing for the scene. So it's nice to see how much change is happening in like HeroesHype, Open Division, etc., so forth.
I'm really glad you mentioned HeroesHype because I have this working theory that, you know, phase 1 Open Division, it's a wake-up call in a lot of ways, I feel, to the amateur players to have a direct on-ramp to the pro level. Last year, it's just like, you know, you have these regionals. If you don't win the spring one, you can show up next time in a few months for the summer. But there's a more direct structure. But on top of the HGC Open Division, I really like what the folks behind HeroesHype Tempo Storm series in particular have really been able to bring to the amateur scene, because it brings that sense of tournament level competition. It's a far more serious endeavor than just scrimming. Would you agree that things like HeroesHype have helped be part of that equation to grow the overall amateur scene?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to, because like I haven't been playing in like amateur tournaments for the past X amount of months. Like I just recently started going back into HeroesHype. I would say like from my experience up until right now, like for the short amount of time I've been in HeroesHype, I'd say yes. Like it's a good way to like experience like tournament formatting. Like it's a good way to like experience like this game matters. Like we can't just like screw around or like throw this game off because we don't feel like it. So I think it's a overall like HeroesHype makes a good like experience for the players if they want to like try to go into Open Division. The way I see it is like if you're like a group of people that think that you're good at the game, like I think HeroesHype is like a good like metric to use for yourself to see like if you're actually ready to play in a competitive setting, or if you have the right mentality to play in a competitive setting.
Another really cool interview. Always good to sit down and chat with you, Kevin. All these interviews are over on the HeroesHype website. Definitely check those out. It's again really cool to get the insight from the players, because you know us as, you know, even staff, people watching. You see these names moving around on the screen, but it's always interesting to me to get the insight two players that are actually controlling the characters. I mean, who knew we had Confucius here in the hero scene? I didn't know that. I didn't know that going into this. My life's been changed.
Yeah, man. You're welcome.
He was just like,
casual.
yeah, he's just so smooth about it. He's just like, yeah, you're welcome.
No big deal.
This is just Tuesday. Like he's like, yeah, I'm well accustomed to changing people's lives. You're welcome. Who knew? Is that a Kirby shirt you're wearing, by the way?
Yeah, man. You like it?
I do.
I feel
actually.
your t-shirt
I'm
game has to
looking-
be strong. I feel like if you're doing an interview with a Lauren, right?
Well, I find I end up wearing a lot of button downs when I cast. I don't know. That's the thing.
Looking professional.
I try. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really awesome that to have the HGC come in. It brings a structure, league play, and we have something like HeroesHype Tempo Storm series to accent that and provide that same kind of experience to the amateur teams. I'm not surprised to see teams like Team Numerics, Donkeys R Us making it far into the open division. Imported support is no stranger to HeroesHype as well. I'm really glad that we're able to bring that kind of stability to the overall proceedings. So I don't know, it's cool. But
So tonight.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
I know.
I love how like that's becoming a thing. Sky Bunny likes your hair, man.
Oh, yay, thanks. It'll get I'm gonna do a poll next week for how I should dye my hair for BlizzCon. So everybody should look for that, I guess. I'm thinking half purple, half silver, HeroesHype colors. I don't know, we'll have to see. It'll be interesting.
Well, it is in fact Wednesday. I know it's Wednesday. I woke up this morning well aware of the fact that it was Wednesday. I've been looking forward to this. The finals will be starting up in exactly 13 minutes. And Jen, you'll actually be participating in the proceedings tonight. You're going to be jumping in for Flame is Lame's last hurrah.
Yeah. DRU didn't qualify because we did not place well in the couple that we played, and our team was actually really busy towards the end of the split.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't really have the opportunity to play as much as last time. I also don't even know if we would have been able to play this one because people are like super vacation right now, which I guess is kind of a given after you are forever third, but
Feels bad.
yeah,
I
I'm
think
playing.
a year of like every other Monday and Tuesday is scheduled, so
Yeah.
people need a break.
But yeah, I'm playing with I think Shaw, Legend, Elheim, and I think Trap Queen. I think.
Okay.
Mfu.
Mfu? Okay,
Yeah.
Mfu. Yeah, that's what I'm playing with. I knew that. Yeah.
Well,
It'll be competitive for sure. I think numerics will probably be the hardest competition.
Well,
and
Sixth
then-
Sense is in there too.
Behind that, Sixth Sense.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how they show up, but I'm particularly excited to see you back with your former teammate Legend. Legend's playing with you guys in there, right?
Yeah.
So- For those who don't know, the series 1 winners were 4 guys in a Legend, which would then become 101st Northumberland Fusiliers and then Donkeys R Us. So it's cool to see like these names reunited, so to speak. So Elheim, Jen, and Legend again, trio. I'm excited for that.
Some good times, man.
Synergy. The synergy is
Well-
going to be great.
Synergy.
Legend and I have great synergy because all we want to do is dive the enemy core from level 1.
They, next
Go
level
big or go
strats,
home.
next level strats right here. You shouldn't give these away before the finals, man. I mean, but I want to give you some time to get ready and stuff for the finals. We gotta do some things on our end to get stuff set up. I'm excited, man. HeroesHype Tempo Storm Series 3. Jen, thanks. Confucius, I'm sorry. Confucius, thanks so much for joining us, man. You changed my life. You changed my life.
Yeah,
man.
no problem, man.
Man, always a pleasure. The good old-fashioned argue. They just don't make them like this guy anymore.
One of a kind.
See? Can confirm. But that will round it out for this episode of the finals pre-show. Another thing that I think we forgot to mention it, but now we're on iTunes. HeroesHype Live is official, so we're seeing some activity there. If you're looking for a podcast to listen to during the day, hey,
We're your crew.
I saw that eyebrow flip there, man. I see you.
I'm not good at it.
I
though.
see you out there. But that is gonna wrap it up for us, I do believe. Jenny, any shout outs you want to call these donkeys out or anybody before?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Shout out to my llamas. My boy Harry and Enfu. Shout out to our social media manager for DRU, Hoxinus. She is a sweetheart. Shout out to my teammates who are dumb, but I love them. Elheim, Taliant, LZ, and the last guy, Soyusarian.
Oh wow.
Um,
And
and my
you have a
fiance.
manager god.
Oh yeah, Spagooter Hots,
Pog chain.
our wonderful manager, part-time police.
Please.
Um,
Can you answer me one last question though, Jen?
Yeah.
Why did he change his name to Slice Blade if y'all just gonna call him Talion anyway? Is that the meme? Is that?
I don't think any of us consented to this name change. One day he just logged on as Slice Blade, and we had no say in this, and we didn't understand the decision. We didn't enjoy the decision, but he is a crazy man, and he lives his life.
He lives his life. Fair enough. All right.
We don't understand him. He's old.
It just always cracks me up because, like, whenever y'all talk about each other, like, yeah, and then Taliant, and I'm like, it says Slice Blade right there, all caps. It just cracks me up.
I don't know who Taliant is. I just know Slice Blade.
Same. Not my Slice Blade. Not my Taliant.
Slice Blade.
All right, guys, we're gonna round it out here. Again, thank you, Argy, for jumping in with us. Confucius, very insightful. May, always a pleasure. We're gonna get things ready for the grand finale. HeroesHype Tempo Storm Series 3 will be up here in less than 10 minutes. I'll be joined by the Fox of Hots himself. It's gonna be a time. But for now, you guys take it easy.
Bye.
Yeah.